influence it will have in resolving the 4-year-long Anglophone crisis after records of the Electoral Board show that only the ruling CPDM party candidates will take part in Anglophone Cameroon as a result of white boycott.
Thank you very much, Rita Moto, for that report. Looking at the situation in these two English-speaking regions, the crisis is still ongoing, and the hopes for regional council election to put an end to the crisis is what we're deliberating on this day, the Pan-African debate. Welcoming you once again to this edition of the program. Those of you on Facebook, leave your comments there, we shall read them here. And joining us this afternoon, we have Senior Barrister Ashu. Thanks for being here today. We're glad to have you.
Good afternoon, Bidben. Good afternoon, Dr. Ngwanyam. Good afternoon, Kedia. Good afternoon, televiewers. It's a pleasure being with you. Hope we are going to enjoy ourselves.
Yes, surely we're going to enjoy certainly discussing on Cameroon. Joining us this day, Dr. Nick Ngwanyam. Thanks for being here.
It's a pleasure to be with us again, and it's a very sensitive topic. We hope that we'll be able to navigate through it without causing any pain.
Certainly very sensitive topic. Equally, Kedia, Robert Kedia, thanks for being here.
Thank you very much. Greetings to my senior co-panelists and to all our viewers watching us at this moment.
Thank you very much. And we equally have on the other side on Zoom, joining us, it's Mr. John Mbah. Thanks for being there. We hope to establish connections with you. John Mbah, thanks for being there today on the program, the Pan-African Debate.
Can you hear me? Thank you very much. Like I said, it's a pleasure always being part of this program. And a very quick greeting there to Dr. Nick Ngwanyam and Barrister Asu. I hope we'll have the opportunity this day to, say our hearts, our minds, and try to, be on the right side of history for our people in the Cameroons, specifically in the southern Cameroons. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for being there equally. We are going to be with you together right up to the end of the program. Now, we're discussing on the Pioneer Regional Election scheduled for tomorrow, Sunday, 6th of December, and this it's to complete the decentralization process, and will these elections put an end, or anyhow can it be one of the solutions to the 4-year-old crisis in these two English-speaking regions? Senior Barrister Ashu Emmanuel. Now, these are one of the recommendations of the major national dialogue. Regional council elections are taking place tomorrow, the 6th of December. Now, what are expectations? Are we hoping to see any changes on the ground after tomorrow's elections?
A point of correction, sir. It is not major national dialogue that instituted this thing. The Constitution provides that Cameroon, I think Article 2, Cameroon is a unitary decentralized state, and the institutions of the state are the councils and the regions. So I think it is in a bid to put in place the institutions of the state, of the unitary state, that these elections are being organized. You see, the decentralization law is really belated. It came in application of the constitutional provisions. So that thing really has to be put in its right perspective. It is not because of that major national dialogue. It is a constitutional provision that is being enforced. So coming back to your question, well, if we have to look at it in terms of those elections, which are welcome to complete the state institutions, whether they can help to bring an end to the Anglophone crisis, that one is another big question mark, which I think the answer is a clear no. It's a clear no. We all know it's no, because before even the elections can be organized, there is already lockdown that is being enforced. So you can imagine what will happen after. It's a clear no. Those elections, in terms of solving the Anglophone crisis, are purely cosmetic. They are purely cosmetic. They have no effect at all. You see, they are going to put in place institutions that have nothing to do with the people's well-being, nothing to do with putting an end to an armed conflict which is raging on the field. So the government should look at something else and not count on those elections to solve the civil war.
And Dr. Nick Ngwanyam, the government intends to hand over leadership at the grassroots level. Now, do you think this will in any way solve this long-standing crisis in these two regions now? Those at the local level will be the ones to decide on certain things now. Should this be any way solve, or can it solve the crisis on the ground?
The decentralization as it is now is a good exercise, but that's not the panacea or the solution to the Anglophone problem. It's these elections are coming at a time when we've spent about 24 years, like Barrister was saying, this was in the Constitution for 24 years, and so it's after 24 years that we wake out of slumber to try to do something about it. So you see, the nation has a lot of problems. It's not just the Anglophone problems. You see, there are problems in the east of the country, problems in the north, problems even here, in the center, the south, and so on, problems with the youths and so on. So what I'm trying to say is that the nation has a lot of problems, and we really need to sit up and try to see how we address those problems. And the Anglophone problem is just one of the major problems that we have. But if we could already be honest to ourselves and really address the problems that are hurting the whole nation, then a lot of things will begin to fall in place. So we are doing something that is good, but probably we are not choosing the season properly. And as we were speaking, I can see in my mind, I see 4 dates that are going to be very important in the state of Cameroon. I mean, in our country, Cameroon. Like I mentioned before, we have our Independence Day, whether it was 1960 or 1961, but we had an Independence Day. Then we have that famous day when President Paul Biya was talking during the Paris Peace conference with Mr. Mo Ibrahim. That's one of the most important dates because of the confession that he made. And then the third important day would be the day of the 6th, this decentralization thing. Because on this decentralization thing, when the people will be voted in place, it's not like it's the best of solutions, but at least it would give this East Cameroon part of the country a taste of self-governance, because they have never known what it is. So they will be taking their baby steps into something they have always talked about but not knowing what it is in self-governance. So it gives them an opportunity, because up until now, there are people who have been ruled by the SDO and the DO. Even when when somebody wants to make a baby with his wife in the house, he's got to take permission from the DO. So they will realize that there are a couple of things that you can do without going to the DO. And then the 4th and most important date will be when we will have the dialogue, because another dialogue must come to solve the Anglophone problem and many other problems in the country. The Anglophone problem will be solved by a properly done dialogue, because what we called a dialogue was a monologue.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Nick. Now, Mr. Robert Kidia, now, the Pioneer Regional Council elections are scheduled to take place tomorrow. Now, how do you welcome these Pioneer elections?
It's a great thing, and we should be grateful that the voice of the people have been heard, and we are going to the final phase of effective decentralization. It was a process since 1996, and the various stages have been put in place, the Senate and the rest, and now we are going to the final stage of it. For us, for someone to say that it has nothing, then it shows that really there's a total bias in the perspective of view, because we can't say such an institution really has no effect. No, it will obviously have an effect. And with this institution that have been put in place, as Africans, we always say this, that we should be ready to construct institutions and make them powerful, and rather not than personalities. So if an institution is being put in place, we should accept that institution, let it be put in place, then we can empower that institution to do the will of the people. For instance, now we have the House of Chiefs, and we know how important the House of Chiefs have always been to us during the era of the colonialism, and so the House of Chiefs is there. And with this House of Chief, we should empower our chief. When we empower our chief will be able to protect our own interests. But when we pass our time calling our chief names that they fight, they sell and this and that and discredit them, then it will not give them opportunity to fight for our interests. Even with the regional councillors that will be put in place, we should empower them. The problem we have is that we don't empower our leaders, and we make our leaders now vulnerable to take certain decisions to protect us. We need to empower our leaders, the people themselves. Look, for example, I will talk about this crisis, this Anglophone crisis as people are called. When chiefs came up, people discredit chiefs and call chiefs all type of names. The cardinal himself came up, the church, people discredit the church and call them all type of names. We have personalities that have come up to give their ideas on how the way forward. Still the same people have come out to discredit them and give them names. So what is the way forward? Who do we want to come up? Even if you say, okay, let's have a national dialogue. I say you want to call those in the diaspora. There are people that will still come and discredit them. That these are people that went to Swiss, get money. These are people that after this, they have their self-interest. So we should first of all stop, look for a solution, for a way forward on how to do this. We should stop discrediting ourselves. When we stop this, then we'll look for a way forward. It's so sad for me. Some people will say the source of this problem is political. Others will give their own perspective. But for me, it's so sad to say that the problem that the Northwest and Southwest region are facing with the rest of the country is just because we have two cultures. And it's so sad that we are killing ourselves because of the white man culture, when we can empower our traditional rulers now and our institution to bring a harmonized Cameroonian culture, that the way will go forward. If we like, we'll keep on talking for the next 20 years or 50 years about this issue of these two cultures. If we don't think about harmonizing them, we'll actually have a great problem. The final phase of these elections are coming up, and we're in a democratic process. And most people keep on comparing African countries with maybe America that has been in democracies for hundreds of years, and Europe. It's really a mistake. We should know that we have a young country, we have a young democracy. We should put the institution and empower them. Then I believe the problems we have will be solved. Through it, I know that it will have an effect to the crisis to change it. About dialogue, Cameroonians will keep on dialoguing. We started dialoguing at the Fumban conference, and we've been dialoguing in the early 90s, and we will keep on dialoguing even when the problem will be solved and peace will return. We will keep on dialoguing as Cameroonians for the way forward to bring peace in our nation.
All right, Mr. Fay Elvis, in keeping with the desire to accelerate the decentralization process in Cameroon, tomorrow it's the final day. Regional council elections will be taking place. Welcome to the program.
Thanks very much, yeah. Thanks to the level-headed panelists who are here present, and to the millions of viewers who are watching us right away. You know, before coming in, tomorrow is the D-Day of the elections. You know, I just got my co-panelist, Kedia Robert, surely from the ruling party, the CPDM, who talked about we should empower. And I begin to ask, who are those to empower? Now, you don't just get up one morning and you come to the TV and begin to say empower. When you talk about empower, they are modus operandis put in place by the state to determine whether an institution should be empowered or not. I don't think the population are the ones to empower the chiefs, the regional chiefs, or the regional councillors. What does the constitution say? That's what we should be following. Now, let me keep that aside because it's blowing the trumpet for Yaoundé regime, which has expired already. Now, my main worry is here. I see distraction from Yaoundé, and I see people get so moved. Regional election. Nobody is taking time to ask, but what are the clauses surrounding the functioning of regional elections, be it at the level of regional councillors or the chiefs? Listen, we are no longer fools. That issue of election tomorrow is zero. Anybody, I repeat, anybody who sits and dreams and thinks that regional election will make a change in whether it's Cameroon or wherever, is a daydreamer of the first order. Because people have decided to put in place distraction. While people are dying on both sides, election comes in, and people are running after money to pick up elections and campaign in whatever. The regional election has no place as of now except settling the peace and security. Mr. Luis, I am telling them because they are watching us from Yaoundé, wherever they are in their offices, and they know what we're talking about. Anybody who tells you regional election has a place, that man is devil's advocate. I'm sorry to say so. Because you will not tell me, Keja tells me about House of Chiefs.
People went in for 2018.
You tell me about the House of Chiefs here.
No.
I am surprised that the chiefs who are vying in for the election and who have no power because whatever they take, likewise the regional councillors, it will only be a suggestion. There is a rapporteur to be appointed by the head of state to take care of those regional issues. The governors will still be lords over the issue. I got Dr. Nick who said, he will try to change some things, because at least the people try to feel that at least their voice can be heard. Doctor, that regional election, as you see, is a farce of the first order. Because even the administrative authorities and those that will be appointed to supervise will still be dancing the same Bafia dance as SDOs are dancing Bafia dance over the functioning of councils. Let no one come on air, no matter the propaganda, to tell lies that regional election come tomorrow, less than 24 hours, will make a change. A change where you make proposals and the head of state has a prerogative to decide whether to accept or not. Is that a house? At the end of it, we have commissions left and right. Bilingualism is there. Disarmament is there. They only make proposals and send to the head of state. Bilingualism has done theirs. They have sent. The presidency is sitting on them. Nothing has changed. We can only talk about regional houses when they have the power to decide things on their own without interference from the central government, whereas the supervisory authorities are actually there. On the other hand, when we look at the so-called quack regional election as they put it, yes, state budget is moving. I begin to ask myself, what will be the function of a regional councillor? When he will always sit in a place and then he makes proposals and say, we are thinking that Manu is not fine, let a road be constructed, and then the rapporteur in the place and the representative of the head of state have to collect what the proposal you have before taking over to Yaoundé. Yaoundé is not obliged to accept the proposals you are making. If we're talking about House of Chiefs as per se before then, before even the quagmire of the relationship between French-speaking Cameroon and English-speaking Cameroon, we know that the House of Chiefs were in a way that they could decide things and things happen on the spot without someone interfering and then being at their mercy as the Lord of Lords and King of Kings, who will be able to take your plea. And then when he takes it, people start rejubilating. Look at the amount of money disbursed for the regional elections for the chiefs. That is something enshrined in the Constitution. But it was disbursed at the nick of time with instruction. It looks as if it is a largesse from the head of state. People running for election are supposed to have budget, subvention from the government to enable them go through.
Okay.
But if you see the way the thing is made, now President Paul Biya in Yaoundé becomes the Lord of Lords. As he puts it, the CPDM psycho fans come in and they blow a whole trumpet as if President Paul Biya has done what Napoleon left undone. So at the end of it, we are saying, because the millions of viewers are intelligent, no one should deceive you. I am coming back round 2. Regional election will not change a dime. It is a distraction of the first order while people keep dying, suffering, displaced in Nigeria, displaced in Douala and all the like, and some have become thieves because they need to survive and they are hungry. Okay. A distraction, we are intelligent, regional election, just play your own fake game and go away. We are on board.
All right, Mr. Fay Elvis, thank you. Let's talk with you, John Mbah from on Zoom. Now, regional council elections, the government says everything has been put in place for a successful Pioneer Regional Council election to take place tomorrow, yet the separatists on their part called for a lockdown, which began on Friday now. What has been happening on the other side? You're joining us from the United States.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think after listening to the co-panelists this far, honestly, I have to say here that we are virtually unanimous in our agreement and understanding that what is taking place tomorrow in the Cameroons is a charade. There is this statement that I like to, pick from French, and it says something very interesting. It says, plus ça change, plus ça reste la même chose. If you understand what this means, it means there is really no point thinking at any given moment that anything is changing. because there is so much motion, but we're remaining on the same place. I think it is fundamental to understand that when someone like Mr. Robert says we should give, some kind of empowerment to the chiefs because he's referring to the House of Chiefs, I just want to heave a serious laugh. Do you know why chiefs and funds have lost the primordial place that they had in our society, in our communities? The reason is simple. They not only joined politics, but they became puppets of the administration. That is why you will see a divisional officer will have the audacity to address a first-class fund as he is my auxiliary, he is under me, I can give him instructions. And the chief would say nothing because they sold their birthright. Do you remember when the Queen of England would show respect to the funds of the grass fields because they saw how the people virtually deified their leaders, their rulers. But all this is gone. With the advent of multi-party politics in 1990, and with Mr. Paul Biya struggling to hang on anything possible to stay in power, he virtually reduced every single force existing in the Cameroons to rubble. Because if you are not with us, you are against us. That mantra forced people, even against their wills, even against their beliefs, to become part of the CPDM. I know that even some of our people who are within that party are sitting there not because they actually believe in the ideologies of that party, are sitting there not because, but because they know that it is the only way of survival. Dr. Nick Ngwanyam, my brother, is here. I listen to him, I feel him, I understand him. But if Dr. Nick Ngwanyam dares leave that CPDM today, I fear the taxation department will come all over the place with what is called redressement fiscal. They will create even taxes that have never existed and tell him he owes them. This is not being unfair to you, doctor, but it's just being truthful. It's just saying things as they are. Even at this moment that we are talking here, the fund of Nsop, who just a few weeks back refused that he will not be escorted to his village by soldiers. He will want to go there as a free man. At this minute we are talking, he is on the way to Nsop, this time escorted by 4 armored cars. He is going to Nsop at a time when there is a lockdown. And why is there a lockdown? Because the people are agreeing with us that independence for the southern Cameroons is the only way to save the soul of our country, which erroneously got into a dubious union, a dubious and uncertified union with La République du Cameroon, thinking that they were brothers and sisters with whom we could be able to forge a living. Look at what the forum saw, generally revered and loved by his people, has been reduced to. And they're escorting him there in this armored cars against his will because he swore he didn't want to go back there in that manner. And after the so-called or the chariot of elections tomorrow, he will be escorted back in the armored cars. So where will he be exercising his functions? In the so-called House of Chiefs. I call it House of Division, because the House of Chiefs has existed in the southern Cameroons was one. We didn't have a House of Chiefs for the people of the Southwest, as they call it, and a House of Chiefs for the people of the Northwest. This is called a House of Division. Mr. Paul Biya is still trying to simply implement what he said in France, as Dr. Nick Ngwanyam mentioned, trying to see as much as possible how we need to be completely fragmented, broken and everything so he can continue with his failed assimilation process. You talk to me about elections as a panacea. The head of state, Mr. Paul Biya, or whoever will come after him, according to the Constitution, still has the powers to appoint governors, to appoint GOs, to appoint SDOs. And then that's not all. He has the powers even to dissolve any regional assembly that is not aligning with the policies of the central administration. So what is the use of the existence of those bodies? Already he has a parliament there in Yaoundé, which is a rubber stamp. Did he need many other rubber stamps? What does he need stamps for? I mean, that is a king. He does things the way he wants. So when somebody even talks about this and even erroneously says it has or may have any bearing on the situation of the Southern Cameroons, I begin wondering whether someone is supplying you wheat. Sorry for using that expression. I say so simply because you should already have known by now. Christian Cardinal conducted a survey in that country under very difficult conditions. And the result of the survey was that 69% of the people don't want to have anything to do with La République du Cameroun. They said it was conducted in a very rudimentary manner. Less than a month ago, the Committee on Dialogue and Negotiations, or the Coalition on Dialogue and Negotiations, conducted another survey. And this time it was run by a very reputable New York-based organization known as SurveyMonkey. And the results were analyzed by another very reputable UK-based organization. 86% of the people of the Southern Cameroon still made it abundantly clear we want to have nothing to do with La République du Cameroun. And then, if you were doubting the results of those surveys, see what is happening on the territory today. They have told us that the armed groups have been reduced to their barest expression, meaning that they are no longer a threat, really. But we are seeing the people staying at home in Boya, in Kumba, in Bamenda, everywhere. The people have locked their houses and they're inside their houses, sending a message again to the world that they don't want to have anything to do with elections they consider colonial. So why should anybody at any time begin by bothering himself or herself to even try to attach any inkling of credibility to an election which will have no bearing on what is happening in our country, the Southern Cameroons? And you talk about a rapporteur, my brother Tayon Fa. Look, the rapporteur in the regional assemblies is the same like the federal inspector in the days of the Federal Union. The federal inspector appointed by Yaoundé had more powers than the elected prime minister of what was called at that time West Cameroon. And the prime minister and his government, the whole government, with the federal assembly, that with the regional, the House of Assembly of the Southern Cameroons could take decisions, and the federal inspector will say this is not working. He could veto. So what are you talking about? Let me tell you, this issue of the centralization, or call it federation, it's not connected to the French culture. So take note. No matter what they do, it won't even work even in La République du Cameroun. Okay. So these cosmetic things really don't have any future at all in the Southern Cameroons. I think the problem we have in the Southern Cameroons today has more to do with those elite and those people who preposterously think that they can force our people to continue to validate their selfish desires to keep receiving crumbs from the table of La République du Cameroun. And I pardon them simply because I know they have never tasted freedom. They don't know what it looks like. That is why they are even afraid of it. That's why they are confused as to whether it will ever come. And so they wonder whether if that freedom comes, how would it look like? My dear brothers and sisters, to be very honest to you, that thing called election is a waste of time. It's a charade. It will have no bearing, not even in La République du Cameroun. There, I can guarantee you that.
All right. Thank you, John Bakoro. Now back to you, Senior Barrister Ashu. Now, the regional council election is aimed at giving particular autonomy to the Northwest and Southwest regions. Now, those who be elected in these regional councils are supposed to be Anglophones. Anglophones certainly elites in these regions. Now, don't you think it's worth giving a try to see what their leadership would look like on the ground, maybe to those clamoring for separation or federalism? Don't you think this should be a starting point? And we'll look at everything that's on the ground. We want a way out of the crisis. The solutions might not be automatic, but then regional council elections, should it be or be given a try?
Thank you, Big Bang. If you look at the law on decentralization, the decentralization code, you see that the entire council exercise concerns 15% of the national budget. 15%. When the councils will be in full blossom, they will manage 15% of the national budget. So I want you to understand, because you start asking those type of questions, you see, the putting in place of this thing will give people autonomy. In the whole country, when all the councils will be working in full blossom, they will control 15% of the national budget. Okay, there are 10 councils. Southern Cameroon has 2 out of 10. So 2 out of 15, 2%, 2, I don't know what percentage that is going to give. So that is the autonomy Southern Cameroon has to get out of the council budget. Are you mocking at who? Now, somebody talked of House of Chiefs. They have brought back House of Chiefs. My brother, did you spend your life in Kenya or some other country that is not this one? House of Chiefs in the days of Southern Cameroon was a senate. It was a senate. So you want to bring back a senate as a council chamber? What are you talking about? You are bringing back a senate as a council chamber. I even hear people talking about regional representatives. Please go back to that law. We don't have that in Southern Cameroon. They are talking of, they say the regional house is made of 2 houses. The House of Chiefs and the House of Divisional Representatives. Look at their terminology. Divisional representatives. You didn't have that in 1960. What are they bringing out? They brought back nothing. And the House of Chiefs, look, there is nothing special. They have the same prerogatives as the other regional houses. There are only 2 things different. One, they can give an opinion on the running of their house. An opinion. You know what that is? And they can give an opinion on matters of education. The opinion, like Far said, can be accepted or can be rejected, can be put under a drawer. So are you talking about autonomy in terms of an opinion, giving an opinion that has no effect whatsoever? Who are you mocking at? No, we should be serious here. You see, even in terms of an effect on the entire nation, this is a totally useless exercise. I want to agree with Mr. Fa, because the country says Cameroon is a unitary decentralized state. What have these people, these CPDM people, put in place? They have put in place an over-centralized state in place of a decentralized state. So what they're trying to do now, they call it decentralization. Sorry. You have put in place a deconcentration process. You are trying to deconcentrate what you have centralized. You have over-centralized. You are taking away some of the powers from the central authority. And the maximum of that power is only 15%. So what autonomy are you talking of? What autonomy? When you keep 85% in the center and give out 15% to 10 regions, what are you doing? It has no effect. Even in terms of the entire nation, it is useless, because these people will control nothing. Then let's go now down to the field to see the effective control. Who heads the House of Chiefs? Who will head the House of Chiefs? It is the big man there in the region who will be the boss of House of Chiefs. It is not the chief. The chiefs cannot run their house. They cannot. They will elect chiefs, but they will be headed by the governor there, or the regional representative. Their own person there who will be the chief. Who will be the chief of the House of Chiefs. So what do you want? Are you giving or you are not giving? A council assembly. Look, because the real term for that thing is a council assembly. Where else in the world does this exist? A council assembly. What is the reason?